All right, welcome everyone. This is the Auburn School Committee meeting for December 10th, 2025. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is being recorded by recorded in person and is being recorded by the Auburn Cable Television, and all are welcome to join us in person at 5 West Street. All right, can we stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The vision of the Auburn Public Schools is to educate and prepare students for the opportunities and challenges of a changing world. Our commitment: we will create, maintain, and support an environment that fosters a sense of belonging for all students in our schools, respecting race, color, sex, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, homelessness, poverty, spoken language, and ability. Okay, thank you, Dr. McCrillis. We have a different setup tonight. We are doing the final interview, our finalist interview for the superintendent position. I am Jessie Harrington, the chair. We're going to go down the line and just say our names. Megan McCrillis, vice chair.
Stephanie Parker, school committee member.
Brooke Wren, school committee member.
Samantha Rayfield, school committee member.
Piper Doan, student rep.
Okay, thank you. All right, and we are going to move on to unfinished business. So let's see, we have here tonight our candidate, Dr. Robert Skaza, and we will be doing a 75-minute interview. When there are 35 minutes left, I will give you a little shout, let you know. And then when we have 10 minutes left, I will also let you know. We have 14 questions. And I'm going to let you lead us off with an opening statement, and then we will ask our questions, and I'll let you close with a closing statement.
Great.
All right. All right, so let's get started, I guess. Yeah, let's do this. So we'll start with you in your opening statement. I'll turn it
Right,
over
well,
to you.
let me just start by saying how pleased and honored I am to be sitting here with you all tonight. This is something that I am very excited about, and I hope that you feel that in my presence and conviction tonight. So thank you for your time and for this opportunity. My opening statement, I've given a few times today. I had a wonderful day meeting a lot of students, faculty members, and community members. And I've been telling everybody that education has been in my blood for a long time. So at age 18, I started working at the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm 48 now, so it's been 30 years of me working with children in some form or fashion, and 25 years in my district that I'm in now. And I haven't worked in another district, but I'm very excited at the opportunity of finishing out my career in the Auburn Public Schools as the superintendent. So this is something that I take very seriously. This is something that I feel is a fabric of my being. And I just really enjoy working in the field of education, in particular serving adults and children. And this responsibility is not something that I take lightly. So I feel as though you're going to receive that. And please, if there's anything that you want me to clarify along the way in terms of what my priorities are or who I stand for, I'm here to do so tonight.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to get started with leadership and management. Can you describe your management style?
So it's a combination of being organized and having a system in combination with leading by example. So I really do not feel that I can tell people to do something without doing it myself, or ask people to do something without having done it myself, or be involved in a process without knowing the process from experience. So I just don't think that's right to do. So my management style is that I'm out in the front lines, on the front lines with people in classrooms, in buildings, in school buildings, interacting with adults, interacting with children to make sure I really have a good pulse on the school system. So when it comes time to manage in a more systematic way or through a system, I have a clear perspective on what we're looking to accomplish. In terms of the system of management, I set it up through the management of a team of school administrators, which are typically the principals, but it can be supervisors or directors, to anyone that is responsible for supporting teachers. And we have a system where we identify priorities. Typically, those priorities come from the principals and through the schools, from the schools through the principals. So they're real. They're real to the principals, they're real to the faculties, and you know that the principals have identified these priorities based on need, and therefore they need support with them. So what I do with my management is I make sure that the supports are in place around the principals as the building leaders, and that when we're managing from a central office or as a school committee, or in my case as an office of teaching and learning, those supports, those resources are all clearly in line. People know who to go to and where to go for what they need. And then we follow that cycle and we identify new priorities, and we make sure that we've held ourselves accountable to what we've already started to work on in the priorities that we have previously established.
Okay, great, thank you. And what would you say are the values that drive your work in public education? How did these values form and evolve, and how do you model them?
Integrity is certainly one of the core values that I have, but just hard work in general. I think a lot comes from hard work. I've mentioned a few times today that I wasn't a good student when I was younger, and it took a moment of realization to be like, I better get my act together. When I was a high school senior, and I did so. So through hard work and taking advantage of things that were presented to me, I realized that I could accomplish certain things, and I like to empower others to do so the same. I realize it doesn't come easy to everyone, and it certainly didn't come easy to me. But I'm a firm believer that if you work hard and you stand behind who you are and you demonstrate your integrity, that good things will happen, and people will be responsive to that and feel good around you. So I really work hard, and I want people to know that. I really hold high standards for individuals when it comes to education, because this is a really important job that we have. And I want to make sure that students, children are getting what they deserve and what they need, and who would want to do anything else other than work with children and work in a school system. So have to work hard, have a lot of integrity, and persevere along the way, because it's not always easy and there are a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome. But I really do feel as though integrity and hard work will get you through those obstacles.
Okay, great, thank you. And one more, what characteristics do you look for when hiring those that will work for you?
I need them to be a people person is the first thing I look for. So a lot of people know the responsibilities of the job, or all of the ins and outs and nuances of the responsibilities. But when it comes time to form relationships with people, they maybe fall a little short. And that's where the real work is done. There's so much people work in this profession that if you don't have those interpersonal or people skills, things aren't just going to work as they should. So you can have all the knowledge, you can have all of the degrees, and you can have the experience in some form or fashion, but if you are not able to build relationships, meet people where they're at, and really be a people person, I think that you struggle in this profession. So if I was hiring someone into the school system, teacher or principal or faculty member in general, I would want to really get a good feeling for who they are as a person and what their people skills are all about. That would be my first look for.
Great, all right, thank you.
All right, RJ, mine are related to staff relations. As you learned today in the schools, we have an amazing group of teachers, staff, faculty in all of our schools. So what have you done in the past to foster a good relationship with your team, faculty, and or community?
Absolutely. So I inherited a elementary school years back that had a broken culture, and I needed to do a lot of work to repair that culture and make sure that we were moving in the right direction for the benefit of children. So that involved, and I know it's quite cliche, but I left my office door open, literally. I made sure I was accessible to people. I made sure that I was not just accessible, but that I listened to people, and I truly validated what they were feeling before I asked them to do anything, any of the heavy lift that we needed to do. And on top of that, we did a lot of fun things. You have to want to come to work, and when there's something outside of work that's keeping you from being focused on your craft and and teaching children, then we have to get that right before you're ready to be in front of children. So I wanted to really make sure that I had in this case, a school as a former principal that was welcoming, where faculty members felt that I listened to them, that we were doing fun things along the way. So we were having some fun and building a positive culture. And in this case, the end result was a turnaround school effort. So we had a school that was underperforming, and we brought it to a highly performing status. This was years back. So that's kind of my experience with culture, just really listening to people to make sure that I have a good pulse on what's going on, that I'm being real and honest, and that we're having some fun along the way, because it can't be all business all the time. You have to let loose a little levity, have an activity or two that's a staff building or a morale building activity, and that tends to go a long way.
Great, thank you. What's your philosophy on labor management relations, and how have you built collaborative, respective relationships with especially union leadership or collective bargaining groups in your previous roles?
I believe it's imperative to have a strong relationship with your union membership, your union leadership in particular, but the membership as a whole. I mean, so much of what might be concerning will come through the union leadership, the presidents, or the president, but it may not be the feeling of the president or the presidents. So I'm closely connected to the Educators Association. I was a teacher myself, so I can empathize and sympathize, I've been saying today too, because I know that the work is hard. And I think that that's a good starting point. Being a former teacher, knowing the challenges that you face in the classroom, that's a good starting point when you're looking to meet in a middle ground or at a midpoint with an educator or a group of educators on an issue or a matter that you might not necessarily have the same stance on. So I take a lot of time. I've worked with a lot of union leadership in my current district, and I feel pretty confidently that they would say, and I feel confident myself saying, that we have a good thing going. So when times get a little tough, and maybe it's just not smooth sailing with the issues that we have to solve, we have mutual respect, we are working well together, and that relationship piece of it and that people work piece of it goes a long way to get us through the bumpy road and to the desired outcome. So I have done interest-based bargaining too, which is a whole process where you really get involved with the story behind, what the priorities and why, and you listen to the perspective of people around the table. It's very involved, it's cathartic, it gets emotional, but it's good because you're not just making snap judgments, you're not just sticking to your stance without listening to others, and sometimes there's a push and a pull or ebb and a flow, and you can come to a good end place as a result.
Great, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Again, my name is Steph, and I have the financial management side of this. So here's the heavy lift for you.
Yes.
Two-part question.
Okay.
How do you ensure that budget decisions align with district goals while staying within the available resources?
So strategic plan is the root of it, or the nucleus of it. So making sure that any budget movement, reallocation is truly rooted in this, and everyone understands the why behind the decision and how money is moving around, or where money is moving, and the reason why. So in terms of the planning and my involvement with that, typically it's been on the teaching and learning side of it, but I'm looking at your strategic plan and seeing that it covers health and wellness and safety and community partnerships. Those are areas that I feel very comfortable in too. So my feeling is that with the work to create a strategic plan, everyone has been involved in it, invested in it, and as a result, when it comes time to manage money and allocate money and prioritize the funding, we're able to recognize that not everything might be funded, but priorities are going to take precedent, and then we'll bring what didn't get funded that fiscal year back to the table the following fiscal year, and hopefully we can find supplemental funding, or funding becomes available in the operational budget to make that happen in the future.
Right. And then, of course, if revenue falls dramatically, or it fails to keep up with the need of the district, what are the priorities that you would establish in order to make those difficult budgetary decisions?
So I was pleased to see today that your enrollment has been stable, and I know that Chapter 70 funding and net school spending is a big portion of the pie, if you will. So I think that that's a good indication that the budget will hopefully be in a good and safe place. In the event that there ever needed to be some additional priority based on, budgetary factors that came down the road, school safety and student well-being would be the first priority. We would ensure that the schools and the classrooms in particular were safe, welcoming, and nurturing environments. And then we would have to really look at the programming, the resources, and the personnel around that to make sure that we had everything in place as reasonable as possible to foster those environments. I've talked to a lot of people today about innovation and moving forward and creative thinking, and I think that's great for the future, and that's something that I would like to bring to this school system. However, I was very clear with everyone today that I'm not coming in looking to shake things up or do. I think you've got a great thing going here from what I learned from the students and the staff today. So I would come in really learning like how you make the budget work so far, what the priorities are that you've outlined, what Dr. Chamberlain has established in terms of her goals, how that applies to the school systems. Feel that through, make sure that everyone is feeling comfortable with that, and then see what we might want to add to that menu, if you will, and prioritize for the future. And I like to get creative with things too, so I'm not just like narrow-minded, like, I want to really think creatively with what we would want to focus on for future.
Okay.
Me?
You want me to do the follow-up?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So there is one follow-up question, because like I said, the heavy lift is always the financial side of things. How would you respond to a financial audit finding a budget variance? Like, how would you handle, how would you respond if there was some kind of a financial audit finding?
Root cause immediately, like going back, we scrub through and look at all of our documents. And do you use Munis? I haven't had a chance to use Munis as a system. So I know there's a lot of hard work when it comes to going through that system and making sure that everything adds up and everything is positioned correctly and allocated correctly. So I would want to immediately find, what the root cause is, or what just the cause in general, I guess, is of where this audit finding came from. And then immediately own it and correct it. I mean, that's basically, and unless there was like some egregious reason as to what had happened, I think owning it might be quick and hopefully relatively painless, and then we figure out how to remedy it, mitigate any damage from it, and then move forward and just learn from it. But from what I've learned from Mrs. Stanek and everyone I've met with today, and from what I feel from the school committee, it truly does feel as though you have a really good thing going and a good handle on your priorities and your budget, and the school system in general. So hopefully we don't have many if any audit findings. Maybe
There's the question.
okay.
Hold on, Brooklyn, do we want to backtrack one?
Yeah, just on one follow-up question, in relation to staff relations. We sometimes go back and forth with the idea of reverse evaluations. What are your thoughts on reverse evaluations, and are you open or willing to conduct surveys or other means to gather data from the staff about your performance as a superintendent?
That's where you're really putting yourself out there, but I think you have to walk the talk. You can't not do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fear what people might say or think, and you have to be willing to accept feedback and grow from it. I've referenced Brene Brown a lot today because I've taken a lot from her most recent work and just the mantra that she uses in general of clear is kind. So sometimes you don't get clear feedback through a survey or whatever mechanism, and you're not able to grow from it because people are tiptoeing around it. And I've learned to think differently there, like be straight, be direct, be respectful and courteous, but be straight, direct, clear, and clear is kind, and unclear is unclear. So I'm not opposed to surveying staffs, soliciting feedback, listening to people, setting up forums to receive feedback face-to-face, because I think that's the most important way to receive it. a survey is one thing, and I think you can get good information from that, but when we're really having a face-to-face conversation and I'm feeling what you're saying and it's a mutual thing, then it kind of compels me to want to improve. And I do take pride in the fact that I look to improve professionally and personally, so I don't understand exactly what reverse evaluation, so how does this working exactly? Help me out.
So reverse evaluation is your direct reports evaluating you.
Okay.
Whether that be teachers to principals,
Yeah.
principals to admin, kind of thing, or principals to superintendent.
I think that whatever system you have set up for that could be very important, and you could get great, meaningful feedback through that system. So I'm not opposed to that. I mean, an organization should never be top down, right? You put students at the top, and technically, school committee and superintendent are at the bottom, right? And we're working up through the organization. So, or actually, let me reverse that. The students were working down, filtering down to us. So in that model, theoretically, educators or what have you should be providing feedback to central office administration or building-based administration to let them know that they're doing their jobs right.
Great, thank you.
You go, Neil.
Good evening, Dr. Skaza.
For the evening.
Through the chair, I'm going to ask a few questions regarding conflict resolution.
Okay.
The first question is, what do you see as an emerging issue or problem that we are likely to face, and how would you go about confronting that as a superintendent and community leader?
I don't foresee nothing that I heard or felt today leads me to believe, we've got an emerging problem. But having been in this position and in this field for a handful of years, I know that they surface and sometimes they're unavoidable. So typically it's around a negotiation cycle. Typically it's around some labor practice that maybe people aren't feeling comfortable with. So the way I resolve that conflict is by just immediately getting immersed in what the issue is and making sure that I'm hearing perspective and from both sides. In terms of negotiations, I think there's a fine line that you walk. You have to, truly, you're negotiating over priorities for children, but you only have so much money through your budget and availability through your system to make everyone happy. So you do not, it's not like, oh, yep, sure, we'll do that. Sure, we'll do that. So you really do have to hold a line sometime. But I don't hold a line for the sake of holding a line. Like, if there isn't a circumstance or a factor that is going to make that unachievable or unattainable, then we're going to move forward and for the betterment of students and teachers. I hold teachers in high regard. Like, it's a very hard job. I've taught myself, and I know that it's not getting any easier. So I'm not going to go into any conflict resolution with anything less than an empathetic and a sympathetic mindset. I have done some conflict resolution with staff in the past too, and I don't shy away from that. I was asked by a panel earlier today, what's your superpower? And I think that's one of them. I really don't fear the awkwardness of a difficult conversation or helping people come to a middle ground. Something like this maybe is something I fear a little bit more, or a lot of the panels today, because I don't really like putting myself out so much and, as the focal figure. But with this position, I know that comes with the territory. But when it comes to conflict resolution or really dealing with a difficult matter or a difficult conversation, I don't shy away from that at all.
Can you describe a time you led through crisis?
We had a bus strike in my current district. That was a crisis. And how did I lead? I got out on the streets and I walked children to school. I crossed them across the street. I chased down a bus that had a student behind who had missed it and make sure it stopped, picked up the student, because some were still running, 4 out of 33. So there were a lot of relationship building things that had to happen there too, and we had a strong team. Our leadership team was magnificent through that time. And I really felt for the bus drivers because I knew they were torn. They were in a tough position. So some were still driving, many were not driving. Children needed to get to school. The community rallied. we made sure that we got through that period, and it didn't last very long, thankfully, but we got through it. So I was assistant superintendent at the time. I followed the leadership of Superintendent Mary Murphy, and we had a wonderful director of finance and operation, Doug Diaz, who we got together and we came up with a plan. We got resources and whatever we needed around it. We worked with the DPW and the police chief and every community partner we could find, and we got, fortunately the weather was nice, that worked to our advantage, but we got children to school, and our attendance rates were actually really high for that period of time, surprisingly. I would consider that a crisis for sure, but we got through it.
Yes.
How do you approach decision-making and communication in moments of pressure or public scrutiny? And how would you handle the media and social media?
The first part, I'm not hitting send until I am 100% ready to hit send on an email or a message or I'm not sure what mechanism, is it Parent Portal through
Parent Square.
Parent Square, thank you. Like, nothing is going out until it's like, this is fully fleshed and vetted, and I feel good about this, just particularly in moments where you don't want people misconstruing or misinterpreting information. So I'm very careful. I'm not just sharing information willy-nilly, haphazardly. I'm thoughtful in my messaging, and I would like to think that the faculty of the school system and now in the faculties of the schools that I've run or the school that I ran, have known that, like, when I send out a message, it's important and it has meaning behind it, because I don't just send message after message and water down information, and when I need to communicate, it's for a reason. So I'm thoughtful about my communication, and I'm not just hitting send quickly. There was a second part to your question, though. I think I missed
There
it.
was. How would you handle the media and social media?
So I'm not on social media, period. I don't get involved in that, but I know that social media is a part of a school system, so I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't leverage social media and benefit from it. It's just not something that I pay a lot of attention to. But however, if there was some type of controversy or something that I needed to know that was surfacing on social media, I'd want to be aware of it, and then I'd want to figure out how we respond to it, because I know it can be damaging in a number of ways. I just tend not to put a lot of focus, time, energy, effort into the social media part of it unless it's highlighting student achievement, events that are happening in the community, that whole other element of it where maybe things get a little nasty. I don't pay much mind to until it's time for me to have to pay mind to it. Do you work with a public relations firm or anything like that, or does Dr. Chamberlain do all of?
I think,
Mostly does it all.
yeah, Alan does a lot of it, but we don't work with a firm, no.
Right.
So
So I'll make sure.
does Marlboro work with a firm?
We have some people on standby,
Okay.
you know, so for instance, when we had the bus strike, we had some people that we were vetting some of our communications through, but I'll make sure that I'm razor sharp with my public relations side of things and written or verbal communication.
Yeah.
You won't catch me on Facebook unless I need to be on Facebook.
You good?
That was it? Did you want to follow up?
Yeah, maybe like that first question, I think.
The
yeah.
first one?
Yeah.
Okay, through the chair, I have one follow-up question.
Of course.
In your opinion, what should a school committee member do when contacted by a parent, taxpayer, and/or the media when an issue arises having to do with our schools, students, and staff?
Listen closely, validate, even if you maybe don't immediately recognize what the concern is, listen longer, and then share that with the people who need to know. And in this regard, I'm imagining myself in that role, so I would like to know immediately, like, what the concern is and what I can do to help and what the next steps would be. But my advice would be, you know, if you're on the receiving end of that, just listen closely and make sure that you're validating the concern, and then we'll go from there.
And through the chair, you're comfortable with school committee members taking those phone calls?
I'm used to that practice in the district I'm in now. I know that school committee is contacted by a number of people in the community, educators or citizens on matters, and that's just something I'm familiar with, that practice.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
I think it's the open communication part of it and the transparency. Like, I wouldn't know to fix something or to address something or to consider something unless I have that information. So that's the only request that I would have.
Great.
Through the chair, one more follow-up.
Yeah.
How do you handle a caregiver in the district that has concerns that focus on their own children and expect change even if it doesn't benefit the entire student body?
Well, that's a tough question. I would find it a little difficult to not want to figure a way to address the concern of the individual child and the individual parent, unless it was something that was really a stretch, or maybe there was just a complicated factor at play where it's not like, okay, we can provide that support or those resources. In a perfect world, we have systems in place that meet the needs, social, emotional learning needs, and academic needs of like the aggregate of the student body. But you're always going to have students who have personal or acute needs based on their profiles. So I guess I would never say to that parent, I don't think we can help because it doesn't meet the needs of everyone. It's only specific to your child. I would like to see if that need could be met specific to the child, unless there was some extenuating circumstance where it couldn't.
Through the chair, my question is on vision and strategic planning. As I'm sure you are aware, we are on the cusp of starting to construct our new 5-year strategic plan. Please tell us about a time that you led a multi-year strategic initiative in a district, and what was your role and what obstacles did you encounter, and what were some measurable results that you achieved by the end of that plan period?
So I've been involved in strategic planning in a number of ways. However, in my current position, it applies most naturally to teaching and learning and professional development. And the professional development piece is where I was really charged, primarily charged. That's a challenging one, and I've had conversations today around professional development and how you provide professional development to school personnel, because you have school psychologists, counselors, you have content teachers in all different areas, a lot of specialized personnel, occupational therapists. So finding a blanket PD for all of these folks is not easy. Part of our strategic planning, or that strategic planning that I've been involved in, is rooted in what we've called in my current district like a roadmap for priority. So it's just their instructional practices, and they pertain to just about everyone in some form or fashion. And then it's nuanced in the strategic plan itself in terms of action steps and key benchmarks. The challenge, like I said, was the finding the training and professional development to make sure that we were pushing everyone along. So I've taken a lot of steps to make sure that educational assistants have training opportunities that support the core content and the core curriculums, to make sure that our specialized personnel have opportunities to receive training outside of the district. So I just recently sent our health and wellness team to a conference so they could get information that they needed specific to that department. And then that's kind of like part of the strategic plan for the future, is like how professional development is outlined within the strategic plan moving forward to meet those instructional priorities that you have established. So strategic planning also incorporates the portrait of a graduate or the portrait of a learner. And forgive me, I'm not sure which one we have here. However, I think that's a great starting point. That's work that we're really revisiting where I am currently in Marlborough, to make sure we have a clear picture of, and it's not just a poster on a wall or a placemat in a restaurant. Like it really does show the community and the students in the school system a clear indication of what we're committed to, what our strategic plan is working toward, and what we are essentially guaranteeing students upon their graduation from Auburn High School. that they are ready to go out into the workforce or to higher education. So my experience with strategic planning is first figuring out what your vision is for a graduate, and then looking at the strategic plan itself. And again, my particular contribution there has been with instructional practices and professional development. However, I've been included in a lot of the other areas. I work really closely with the municipality and the police department, the fire department, making sure schools are safe, making sure that we have everything that we need in terms of capital advancement. So, like, I'm involved in that part where I really sit down and start to scope it out and outline it as on the instructional practices end. And I think that's good for a superintendent to come in and have that part, solid, and then look to really make sure that I'm involved in and comprehensive with my involvement with everything else that entails running a school system.
Just a follow-up question through the chair. Do you have any vision or priorities that you feel that we should include in our strategic plans for the Auburn Public School during the first 3 to 5 years, for the next 3 to 5 years?
Not quite yet. However, I heard Dr. Chamberlain state her goals around using data, I believe, to inform instruction and decision-making in the schools. I have a lot of experience with that. And I mentioned that earlier today. It was a revelation for me when I realized how easy that could be when you're using really raw formative assessment data to make instructional changes and reteach and enrich children as a result. So I would look to see where Dr. Chamberlain got in terms of reaching that goal, and then see maybe where things go from there. I believe she also had a goal around bullying prevention, and I've been very involved in bullying prevention and providing curriculum to all of our students that educates them on being an upstander and not a bystander. And I would want to see where that sits and what continued work might need to happen there. I heard from some of the students today that they want to make sure that that's prioritized moving forward. So I guess my answer is I would love the opportunity. That's why I'm so grateful for this particular opportunity. And again, this is the only one that I'm interested in. I'm not actively looking anywhere else. Is that I would have a transition period from 25 years in a school system to a superintendency in the town that I live in, with the superintendent who is well respected and extremely knowledgeable, to learn from her, to pick up from what she has done in conjunction with you all, and then hopefully be able to keep things moving really smoothly as a result of that transition period. I was really elated to hear that Dr. Chamberlain announced an early retirement and was going to fulfill a full year while you searched, because I thought, oh, that would be great if I was granted this opportunity. I would have some time with her before she officially retired.
All right. We are at 35 minutes, but we're doing great on time, so don't worry, Piper. You're up next.
We're good.
First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I know today was a really busy day for you, and I admire your dedication.
Thank you. That's been busy.
As the student rep, I just have 2 questions. The first one is, can you elaborate on some things you've done to get students excited about learning?
Sure. So we have, as an elementary school principal, we incentivize so much. So those are my easy examples, right? Like, we're going to meet goals, we're going to have celebrations, but that stuff is contagious. So I like that part of running a school system, because I want to walk into the schools in Auburn and I want to feel like there's an energy in there and the kids are excited about learning. So I would work with the principals to make sure that they have those elements of their school at play, with the positive behavior incentives and the school goals and the achievement goals, and kids are really excited about learning because they're looking to reach a goal. But a key piece of that, I think, is the enrichment part of school too. So we're doing some work now, and this is a little bit new to me, to provide some unique enrichment opportunities at the end of the school day. And it can be for all ages, but in my case, by this example, it's for elementary age children, where they have something that they're going to do at the end of the day that is making all of the demands of their academic day a little easier, because in our case, they're doing some creative things like with music, beat making, glee club, learning to play an instrument outside of our traditional music program. So I like to incentivize students through the schools with the little things that get them excited about making an accomplishment, or in that most recent example, having something to look forward to at the end of the day that makes them want to wake up and come to school and maintain through the hours of a challenging school day because they have something that they're looking forward to at the end of it.
Thank you. And my second question is, how have you developed or enhanced the student experience that would normally make a child hesitant, worried, or afraid? For example, a student moving from Bryn Mawr to Swiss to the middle school, and the middle school to the high school.
I was always the tour guide. So as a principal, whenever there was a student who I was receiving who was anxious about coming to school, either new to the community or moving from one school to the school I was principal at, parents, guardians, caregivers would reach out to me and ask, like, what can we do to alleviate some of the stress and anxiety? And my answer was always, we're going to come after school hours, or if it was a summer visit or what have you, I would make sure that there was an opportunity for the student to feel comfortable in the building before actually officially entering the building. But there's more to it than just that. It's not just a tour. You have to have like a mentor, a peer mentor opportunity set up. So once they've been acclimated into the school and know the lay of the land, they've got someone checking up on them. So I initiated something in conjunction with my school counselor years ago called the Little Proteges program. So that was every teacher in the school I was managing had 6 students outside of who they were typically responsible for who were their proteges. And they would connect in with them on a daily basis. And things like that go a long way when a kid knows that they have a caring adult for them in the school. So I try to alleviate some of that anxious, nervous feeling about coming to school by just being, it's okay, come in, we're going to bring you into a controlled environment before it's actually filled with people and, and sometimes chaos. And you're going to have supports throughout your transition into school and as you're becoming part of the school itself. And then finally, I worked very, very closely with the counseling team. And I'm fortunate right now that I have a director of social emotional learning. So she manages the counseling team as well as to make sure that we have all of the systems and protections in place for kids that might be experiencing anxiety with attending school.
Right. Piper, I know you had a question earlier. Do you want to ask it right now?
It was kind of my question earlier was basically how would you describe your leadership, but we kind of already answered that. And the other one was, I guess, kind of answered, but I guess maybe more you could elaborate on it. I don't know. But it was how will you motivate students and staff towards their goals?
Motivate students and staff toward their goals. So I need to establish if they're going to be collective goals or individual goals. So something we've been incorporating are goals not just for academics, but for becoming a better student. And that is like a check-in through guidance and school counselors. So they have like a program where you're checking in routinely with these individuals to make sure that you're meeting your individual student goal. And then what that looks like in the classroom is like a conferencing setup. So maybe the teacher has, let's say, 18 to 20 students, but each of those 18 to 20 has their individual academic goal that they've set, and the teacher is conferencing periodically to see how which direction they're headed in toward their goal. So we do a lot of that through universal screening data and then progress monitoring along the way. But sometimes a student just needs that routine and periodic check-in with the teacher to be like, look how close you are, you're doing such a great job, the pat on the back and to keep on doing a great job. Sometimes a student is so disengaged in school that they need that pat on the back and that encouragement to make sure that they're coming on a routine basis, because as we all know, we can't educate our students unless they're in the building, so we want to make sure that we have a good attendance, student attendance, and sometimes it takes a little extra work to make sure that we are incentivizing and encouraging students to get to school every day by providing them with some individual goals to set. we've done some work with that recently, and I've been in charge of that.
I like that answer.
All right.
Thank you, Piper. Does anyone else have any questions that we didn't cover?
Through the chair, and just so you know, we're at almost 1 hour at this point, just so I don't cut you off. As a parent.
15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. As a parent, I have 3 children in the schools, and I have seen the look on some teachers' faces when I walk in as a school committee member. We know you have a daughter in 4th grade. Do you foresee any issues with boundaries around taking the position and having a child in the schools?
Well, I guess I would be a little naive to say I don't foresee any issues, but I don't foresee any that I can't manage. And I've talked a lot about my family and my situation with being an Auburn resident and my wife being an Auburn graduate and my daughter being in the school system, and how that has really invigorated me to really want to go for this position and hopefully ultimately be awarded the honor. To answer your question, though, I think my wife would have to help me a little bit with that, supporting my daughter Carmelita's education, and so I'm not demonstrating any or making people feel one way or the other about my presence when it is related to my daughter's education. Like, I know she's a good student. She does need some help herself and some goals and incentives herself. But my wife Vanessa is on top of that too. So I might remove myself from that equation a little bit, just so it's not that the superintendent's in my classroom asking me what I'm doing to improve his child's education. Vanessa can handle that. I'm going to be more concentrated on what I'm doing to improve the education of every student in the Auburn Public Schools, including your 3.
Excellent, thank you.
Through the chair, what do you think is the biggest challenge you're going to face from changing from your current position to moving up to a superintendent position?
That's a great question, too. I've tried really hard to put myself in the shoes of the superintendents I've worked with, and they've been really helpful. Most recently, I'm working with Jason DeFalco, who is an exceptional superintendent, and he's given me some of that opportunity to experience that. So I guess what I'm saying is I've kind of role-played that, lived that a little bit to a degree where I know what to expect. But the honest answer to your question is I'm really going to have to prepare myself for managing a lot more as a superintendent than I have as an assistant superintendent. The only thing I think I truly have working to my advantage is I've never shied away from any of that superintendent responsibility that's been handed my way when I've had the opportunity. If the superintendent was away for a week and I took over at the helm, or if the superintendent needed reprieve from a matter and I was able to help out and take the lead on that, I've always done that. So I hope that I have the same relationship with Mr. Keller and the central office team, and I'm sure that we will. So I'll just step up and take on the matters in the front line and firsthand, and then have the support system around me to make sure that I'm not doing too much or taking on too much.
All right, any more questions? No, we're good? Okay, I'll turn it over to you for your closing statements, and then your day is over. So.
And you have 25 minutes, so.
Yeah,
Closing statement,
feel free to
or what?
just-
Don't feel like you have to use 25 minutes.
I was going to say I would never do that to you. I do just have to ask one question. I just have one, and it's, I guess, what are you looking for from, and I'm not going to say in your next I'm going to make it specific to me. What do you need from me? What are you looking from me to do and immediately take on specifically? Are you looking for an individual, and hopefully I embody the characteristics of this individual to do a certain thing as your next superintendent?
Through the chair, we have a phenomenal relationship with Dr. Chamberlain. She's been nothing but wonderful, and it's an amazing district to work in. Hands down, best teachers you'll find. And support staff, I shouldn't just say teachers, because everybody in those buildings is phenomenal. So my biggest thing is keeping that morale high, so that I want our teachers, I want our staff to know that they are loved, because if they are loved, our kids are going to be loved in the schools. So between that and just communication with the school committee, we hear about everything and we want to continue that. Those are the big things. But again, putting students at the center of everything.
For the chair, may I add to that? I also feel like it's really important to maintain transparency, not only between a future superintendent and the school committee, but also between super and the staff, the super and the parents. And I think that that's something that we have really done really well here in Auburn, maintaining is the transparency piece. And like explaining what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I just want to continue that. That's really, really important to me.
Okay.
As a school committee member, as a parent, as a teacher myself, I feel like if you don't know what's going on, and I liked your concept of like the bottom up piece, if you don't know what's going on at the bottom, like with us, then the staff doesn't know where the track is leading, and the staff needs to know that.
Okay. Got it. Great.
Anyone else? I'll piggyback on what she said. Dr. Chamberlain is a phenomenal communicator, and that is something she excels in. And I know you mentioned earlier, you know, when you send something out, it's juicy and you open it.
Yeah.
But she, and like you said with the transparency, she's just always so open, so available. She's an open book, and I think that has really benefited our district for the morale, and you know, it's just a great feeling. It's benefited us as a working team. So I would say we would definitely want we would want a good communicator as well.
Just to respond to that, I have to agree 100% as a parent receiving all of the communication. And one thing I might ask if I would be able to steal from Dr. Chamberlain would be her s'more.
Oh, yes. Who she stole from someone else.
Yeah, which is great because she's always got a seasonal picture or
Yeah.
a funny meme and a really nice message and very detailed and clear information that makes it very easy for a parent to access everything they need. So quite honestly, I would probably try to just replicate some of that form of communication and then maybe put my own spin on it too.
Yeah, great. And I love the openness that you have, you really want to learn from her before she goes. She is Auburn's biggest asset, you know, that we feel we have right now. So I feel like that's a good thing too. So, all right, do you have any more questions?
I truly just want to thank everyone for the opportunity. I would like to thank everyone publicly who I met today, students and staff, for their hospitality, for their warm remarks, for their generosity, for everything. It was a great day, and it was a long day.
Long day.
I will tell you, for sure. But it was a very meaningful day, and at the end of it, I'm feeling very good about meeting everyone and what this school system stands for. So I'm very appreciative for that. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for your time, and I just wanted to thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, yes.
Right.
All right.
I did have one. Everybody else said thank you. I was like, oh, that'd be me.
All right, well, I think we are good to go, yeah?
I'll make a motion. Well, first of all, thank you for
Yes,
coming. to
thank
Auburn,
you for
and spending
donating
the day
your
with
day.
us. That was
Yeah.
wonderful. I will make a motion to adjourn for the evening.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and it's votes. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.